other's wound, just like any other room. Made a promise for a new
Då är Dirre podcast äntligen tillbaka mitt under uppehållet som sagt. Vi försökte hålla vår ambitiösa tid precis som vanligt. Och den här gången så bjöd vi in vår huvudtränare Stevie Grieve för en längre tid. Jag hoppas att ni kommer tycka om den. Det blir många frågor och ett långt samtal där vi pratar om allt möjligt mellan himmel och jord. Många lyssnarfrågor kom med. Jag hoppas att så många som möjligt kom med, de som skickar in. Så ja, ni vill väl inte höra mig prata, så här kommer helt enkelt intervjun. Joined now by a very special guest, friend of the podcast, Stevie Grieve, coach of Helsingborg, with us again. Always a pleasure. So, straight from the top, how's life this summer?
Yeah, it's nice. When I joined, everybody kept telling me it's a beautiful place in summer, and yeah, I've safe to say I think I've enjoyed being in the city for the last few weeks.
Yeah. As we said earlier before we started recording, we had a question about that because remember we were joking around about everyone telling you how Helsingborg is a summer city, and yeah. So have you had any like a chance to find any good spots in the town now during the summer? Or
Yeah, I've watched quite a lot of the World Cup games in the bar next to Clarion. Was it Hamkrogen or something?
Yeah,
I think I just call it Hambar. When I've talked to somebody, I just say I'm going to Hambar. But I've been there a few times. Outpost, been there to play darts. Yeah, it's been nice. It's nice just to go out, and everybody's so friendly. So yeah, it's nice to go out.
You get a lot of people wanting to talk to you about Helsingborg when you're out, trying to.
Yeah. Like even like when we haven't played well or we've lost, like I haven't met anybody who's been like difficult. It's everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants us to do well. Everybody wants us to play well. You do get the occasional thing of like people wanting to tell you about how good or how bad some of the players are, and I'm like, no comment. Like I'm not going to get drawn on it. But everybody has an opinion. That's the thing, and you always want as a coach to coach a team that everybody cares about. And I think, it's a city where the vast majority of people are big fans of the club. So yeah, it's been really positive.
How was the World Cup as a Scotland fan? Because I saw a lot of criticism online of the style of play and just the 1-0 win and then just bowing out after that.
Yeah, like I think like from my perspective, it's like this the best generation of Scotland players for about 30 years. Like we've never had a McTominay who could be regarded as the best attacking midfielder in Italy. It would never happen. Billy Gilmore obviously got injured before the World Cup. Even Lewis Ferguson like might go to Juventus or Inter Milan. Like we've got players who are currently like potentially top level players, not world class, but maybe you can put McTominay in that bracket or Andy Robertson from 2 or 3 years ago. But this is the best generation of players we've had, and I think the disappointment from Scotland fans is it's not the first time where we've not played well. Even though we qualified for World Cup, when we beat Denmark to win 4-2, it was Denmark were miles better than us. We were lucky when we got the red card, and then Shankland scores to make it 2-1, Denmark score, and we have 2 30-yard and a 50-yard screamers to get to the World Cup. And of course, everybody's happy about it, but you want the performances to be sustainable or something where you can say, okay, this is how we are and this is how we play. And I think the preconception or the stereotype of Scotland is that we run about and try hard, which is true, but we also have the players to have a little bit more quality, and I think that's where the disappointment comes from.
Yeah, fair. And then in England advancing last night as well against Norway.
The referee. First goal should never be a goal. Norway should be 2-0 up at half time, and then even the push on Elliot Anderson is not a foul. So yeah, it's been a strange World Cup with refereeing decisions, put it that way.
Yeah, for sure.
But you guys must be happy Norway are out.
Yeah.
Very happy, especially when you work with about 10 of them. Like
the Norwegians.
Then you're very happy.
I heard so many people celebrate when England scored last night, and I was like, "What are you doing? Why? Why?"
But the thing is, like, I think most Swedes also hate the English. We don't want to win the World Cup, but we don't want Norway to pass further than we did. So it's kind of like it was.
Like there's two parts of being Scottish when England are in a tournament. Like we're not winning it, and we're not going far. We're there for a good time, not a long time. We're there for a party. The fun bit is like seeing England getting excited that they might win it, and then they get knocked out of penalties by somebody in you want to see them get close enough to feel like they've got a chance, and then the devastation of the disappointment. That's it. There's weird satisfaction in it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's exactly the same now. Like now, the hype train is going, but like, I'm rooting hard for the Argentinians in the semis. Like
Messi will score 2 or 3 against England, and then the guy's 39-year-old and still the best player in the world. England have no chance against Argentina. I say that and end up winning 4-0. I'm panicking.
So let's talk. Helsingborg. What's your opinion of the season so far? If you brass tacks.
Yeah, it's been challenging, mostly because of like the lack of consistency with the lineups. We've had to change the lineup 3 or 4 times. I had a journalist today asking me questions. He's like, "Oh, so you have maybe 6 players missing next week?" It's been never ending. Even like before we play Sandvik, and like Jakob's playing on one leg because his ankle was the size of a watermelon. And Lino opened up his groin blocking a shot with his foot planted like 2 days before the game. Like Femi, when he got hurt against Norby, it was like a freak just sticking out his leg to control a ball, and his hamstring went. It's been, those things have been really challenging. But I think when you're asking the players to change style, change training methodology, change even the approach to going into games, you can see now in training, like a lot of them are starting to understand how to rotate, when to rotate, how to fill in the spaces, how to combine, when to not circulate it, when to do a yo-yo, when not to like do a 50-meter switch of play, or when to do it. So I see, particularly in the last probably 6 weeks, that we're getting closer to what I hope we will look like. But of course, we would rather have 4 or 5 more points. Like I think we deserve 4 or 5 more points, because I think there's been 2 games where I think the game could have been won at half time, and if you don't put the ball in the goal and you concede the only shot on target, then you make it difficult for yourself. So it's been challenging, but I think that we're making good steps forward the last 6 weeks, which is pleasing to see. And then we start to get some players back. Obviously, Julian's joined this week and he looks top already. So yeah, we're getting stronger every week, which is the main thing.
If you're at Helsingborg, since you've been at the club, how do you feel your expectations have been matched as to the job at hand and the club as well, and the players that are there?
Yeah, like you never know what you come into until you're in the job, and you can, the first couple of weeks you're just trying to get the lay of the land, the staff, the players, how the club operates, all those things. Like I think I said in the press a couple of months ago, like the club's been in this division for 7 out of the last 10 years. The expectation is that the players and coach will solve the problems. What you need to do is, and what I've started to try and do is with Mikael and Reda, is like, how do you build the football department to be as strong as possible and maximise every aspect of the work that you do? So like, I'm a coach who wants to develop players. How do we maximise the individual development of the players through video analysis, through one-to-one meetings, through individual coaching on the training pitch, those sorts of things? So it's something we look at currently. Obviously, we brought in Gianluca to help with the match preparation and the post-match things. So that's made a big help already. We brought in Paul Riley as a head of scouting. I've worked with Paul since 2019. So when we have a scouting meeting, for example, Paul will say, don't suggest him to Stevie because he will hate him. So don't waste your time with this 5'3" winger. So it's a waste of time. Or don't send him a 1m85 centre back because I'm not going to look at them. But it's that helps. But again, it's like, without wanting to go into too much detail, like when we signed Demba, I knew what we were getting because I'd done the analysis and the scouting myself. There was another player who we didn't sign, who Orgrut have got, who's very good and he fits the profile. But again, it's if your scouting system is very clear on the profiles that the coach wants to recruit, you need to maximise your recruitment windows to make the team better. You need to maximise your training time to make the players better. You need to maximise the physical development of the players to maximise the output that they can do. So there's stuff that, when you arrive, you go, right, we don't do like live GPS monitoring until recently on the sports science. We didn't do heart rate monitoring. So how do you know if you're doing athletic conditioning or zone 1 cardio or zone 2 if you're not checking the heart rates live? So, but again, those are manpower things. It's not a lack of capability. It's we don't have enough people to do those things. So to try and build the football department out in a way where no matter who the coach is in the future, that the club is stable and organised in a way where you can maximise both recruitment and physical development, then your coaching staff can do the player development. So there's things that I discover when I arrive that we start putting the processes in place for. I know already because we've had the discussions about it. We're going to add a couple of staff members in winter because we'll have a new budget, and the budget will slightly come from the player budget into a staffing budget to try and maximise what we do. So yeah, even from like a squad size perspective, like we'll have a thinner squad for next season and probably more quality. But these are things that are a work in progress that we need to try and get right at club level before we see anything, sustainable on the pitch. Because I think, I might be wrong, I think the last time we went up, we were up for 1 year and came back down.
Yeah.
So that it can't be that we go up this year and come back down next year. It has to be we go up and stay up. And to do all those things, we need to have the processes in place to maximise everything that we do. So yeah, it's the training stuff is a work in progress. The staff is a work in progress. How we recruit and analyse and work with agents and do the salary matrices and things like that, even like loan agreements for players. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in the background that people don't necessarily know or hear about or care about because it's not the outcome or the objective that you see on the game day. But those are the fundamental things that you have to get right behind the scenes to maximise what you do. And like, we're a big club and we should be in the top division competing for Europe. So for us to get to that point, what are the steps that we need to make? And generally speaking, it's background things, not things that you see, on the training pitch or in the stadium in the match day. It's the preparation going into that.
Is there anything that surprised you since you joined in that regard? Maybe in the club, but also just the league as well. We have a listener who was wondering if the division Superettan has surprised you in any way.
Not really.
No.
It's like I always joke about it. Like, I didn't know anything about it. Like, of course, I watched the league because I scout players and watch different leagues, and I watched a bunch of Helsingborg games last year. But it's very like Swedish. 4-4-2, rigid zonal, conservative. Some teams are 5-4-1, rigid zonal. Try not to move within the block. There's actually a lot of similarities between Superettan and when I joined SGK within how the league played. But then my team changed the league. I don't expect that our team will change this league because I think it's quite, the Swedish mentality is we do this way, and it's quite strong on that, and it's something you work with. But the league's not really surprised me. It's very open. Like, the bottom team can beat the top team can beat the second team, and it's every game is every game's reasonably tight. What I have noticed though is like teams here, like, they can be under pressure, have one shot on goal and score. Whereas I haven't seen that so often. I don't know if that's just this year or if it's just a Superettan thing, but Midi Kuduzovic will text me every week and he's like, good old Superettan, and it's like, what's happened is like Norby are beating Norrköping, like, away from home. Like, yeah, like, you would never have put that on your betting slip, but
there's a lot of random bounces in this league. I feel sometimes a lot of the classic Superettan goal for me has been, it's like a corner that kind of bounces on three players. It can be a bit random, especially when
there's a lot of that. Like, there's a lot of like set piece focus on a lot of teams, and some teams it sounds disrespectful to say, but that's like their main avenue to getting anything in the game is a set piece, a second phase, a ball in the box, a bit of drama, a bit of chaos in the box, and then a goal. Or somebody loses the ball around the halfway line and it's a pass, a run forward, the ball across the goal and a finish. And teams are generally speaking like pretty good in transition and set pieces here, more than in open play. So even from our perspective, like we want to be one of the teams that dominates from open play and in defensive transition. So if we can just be, above average to good defensively, not the best, but if you supplement that with being the best at set pieces and you supplement that with being the best in open play, then generally speaking, you'll be one of the better teams. But I find that a lot of the teams are like prevent goals first and try and win 1-0. And the Swedish boys always joke with me about it. Like, we won 1-0 today and that's our sort of game. And I'm like, well, we won 5-2 the week after. That's my sort of game. So, yeah, the league is tough. It's difficult. It's physical. But I think in the end, like maybe part of like how I recruit is not changed, but the types of profiles that I would try and put together on the pitch is slightly different because this league is less man-to-man focused and less space. There's more blocks that you have to find a way through, and as a result, you probably need a little bit more technical quality to break teams down rather than physical quality or speed into space. So those things have kind of affected kind of how I would look at this in the next transfer window, for example.
And so going back to what we were talking about processes as well in making the club equipped to stay in Allsvenskan as well, not just get promoted. There's been a more clear ambition this year compared to previous years, and it's obviously to be in and around the mix for promotion. How realistic do you see that target this year, and how has your view in the club changed in that way?
Yeah, like the view in the club hasn't changed because that's ultimately what we want to hope for. Like I'm not coming on the press halfway through the season saying, yeah, I hope we finish fifth. Like nobody wants to hear that. It's not something I believe in either. Like for me, I want to win every game. I want to try and dominate every game. I want to win the game in the style that I want to play in. For us, I think the difficulty we have just now is that we've obviously had the first 14 games, but it's been a big challenge with lineups. So if we can get some consistency in lineups, then we'll pick up more points a lot easier. I think the teams who are higher up than us just now have probably got consistency in the lineups week to week. And in Falkenberg's case, like year to year, maybe they add in like one or two players. So I think Superettan's one of the leagues where consistency of lineup over a long period of time, where consistency of style and clarity, they give you big advantages because it's such a tight league. Whereas, if it was more open league, it'd just be the higher quality teams would just win. And it's not really like that in this league. So we still want to try and push for promotion. That's never going to change. And I think, what are we, 5 points off the playoffs? So it's that 2 games. Like a team can lose 2 and we could win 2, or we could beat them, and it's then they'll drop another game against someone else. So yeah, as long as we're not more than 3 games behind, I don't think it's out of the question. I think Örebro last year were detached at the bottom in the last 8 games or something. They went on a run. So it's one of the leagues where you can go on a run and jump up 3 or 4 places quite quickly. So we've now got Timo closer to full fitness. Julian's coming in. Max has had a good season. We've changed Alvin's position in the team, and it's made a big difference to the attacking side because he plays 30 metres further up. We dropped Lucas Sjelnas a lot deeper to help in the build-up to push Gaggy higher. So we've made like subtle changes, not huge changes, but subtle changes just to try and balance the team a little bit better. We look a lot stronger for it. Obviously, like Kev's up to fitness now, and all the individual practice he does, you can see now in the pitch because he's helping quite a lot to create and score. Defensively, of course, we need to improve, but that's an ongoing process because it's sometimes like we're trying to be so aggressive on the high block and the man-to-man pressure that the detachment between a high block, medium block, and low block, there's like sometimes a lack of clarity on how do we go from a press and man-to-man into a shape. So we spent about an hour on that this morning. So again, I always say it's like a work in progress because it's not easy to have like a system where when do you go man-to-man, and it's not just vertical man-to-man, it's what happens when the ball switches, how do you switch and leave somebody else to create a free man within that. So it's not like it's man to man completely. It's man to man completely, but we want one more player. And how do you change and switch and these things? So it's not a straightforward defensive system. It takes time, but I feel like even today's session made a big difference. But defensively, we need to improve, I think, to try and get in the top three.
Yeah, like on that subject, you kind of, poked into it, but I noticed kind of a tactical change halfway through the season, especially with Alvin, that he seemed more fluid and he kind of more, that you kind of changed the tactic a bit halfway through the season. What led up to that process, and what was your thinking behind it?
Yeah, it was like I left the Norrköping game so like disillusioned, probably be the word. I looked at it and I looked at all the training sessions, I looked at all the analysis. I spoke to loads of different coaches, spoke to different people, and I think the word that most people used is it looked like I'd compromised on a lot of things. Like, because we had so many injuries, trying to change system, trying to change shape, style, bring young guys in. Like, we tried Max as a 10, we tried to get Akimi in the pitch, we tried like loads of different things. And in the end, it was like we were trying to make everything comfortable for everybody, and it was comfortable for nobody. And I was watching it back and going like, I don't like the direction this is going. So I went home, analysed everything we did, and went, right, okay, this is the direction we're going to go. And the result of the Landskrona game is obviously like nowhere near acceptable, but should never be behind. It's one of the most one-sided games I think I've watched. But if you have 2 shots and 2 goals against you, it's an uphill battle after that. And I felt like we should have been ahead at half time. The next game, I think, against Varnamo, we dominated. We could have won by 2 or 3, but in the end, we win by 1, and we have to clear balls out of our box in the 95th minute when the game should already be finished. And then, obviously, the Sundsvall game where we scored 5, and I still don't know how we conceded 2 goals, but like we played pretty well. And then the last game against Sandviken, I think everybody, even the coach at the end of the game, said to me, I don't know how we survived the first half, because it could have been 3-4-0 at half time, but we have to score. Like, if you can create this many chances, it's up to us to make sure that we score the chances we get. And I think I've said in the press a few times, like, you have variance, like on the attacking side and the defensive side, and it feels like any half-decent shot on target seems to be going in the corner just now. You'd hope that would stop happening at some point, but again, we're not conceding that many good chances. We conceded some shots, but that's normal. So yeah, still we're on the right track now, because I think the changes that I made are more towards what I want and what I see is the direction for us to go up, and I think that the players buy into it now. Especially now, you see them in training, like Simon Bengtsson playing number 10, turning between the lines, feeding somebody through on goal and scoring, and you can just see that, okay, the understanding is there now, and the fluidity and the quality and the one-touch play is getting there. So the balance is a little bit better with the spaces, how we counter-press is a lot quicker. So yeah, I feel a lot more positive now after the last 6 weeks than I did, even the 3 or 4 weeks going into the Norrköping game. We won a couple of games, but it's not like I was happy about it. I'm happy about that we won, but I wasn't happy with, how we won the games.
So on, the topic of Alvin, like, I don't personally have seen a player at that age be so incredibly poised with the ball and gifted in the cell play. How do you see his further development, and is there a thought to maybe move in to a bit of a more center of the pitch role, or do you want him staying at the role that he is in now?
I think, like, obviously in pre-season I played him in midfield the whole pre-season. Part of that was to try and figure out, could he defend in the middle of the pitch? I can see the quality, everybody can see it, like Stevie Wonder can see it, but it's, can he defend? Can he do the counter press? Does he know when to make a tactical foul? And I think the Norby game was the one where I just went, okay, let's just play him higher up now, because he kept giving the ball away, because he's trying passes that he can make, and he's passing the ball through lines they're there, but not everybody else can do it. So you have to you have to work with what he's going to try and accept that sometimes you're going to make mistakes. What I wanted to do was take him out of a position where he might be blamed for we lost the goal because he gave the ball away. Well, if you lose the ball in the final third, who cares? If you lose the ball 40 metres or 20 metres from your own goal, it's a problem. So playing him off the right is partly just to help him defensively, where he's got a clearer role. You've got to press the left side centre back or the left back, or in a low block, you've got to take the left winger. And it's really easy for him to say, that's my reference, that's my reference, that's my reference. And this is a cover I have inside me. And because he's left-sided, he can dribble inside, he can make diagonal passes, and we can attack the opposite side a lot easier with better angles. So even the balance between him and Clancy is quite nice, because you can't really get the ball off either of them. Like, they're so agile and composed on the ball. So yeah, he's doing well. I don't know if he's ahead of schedule, but like, he's starting pretty much every game now. There will be times where I have to like take him out because of, he's 18 and we need to just manage his energy and manage his load and check his height and his weight and all these things. Because like, sometimes with younger guys, like if they're still growing, maybe he grows like 1.5 centimeters in 6 weeks and his body starts to grow, then the muscle problems happen. So even like checking his height and weight fairly regularly is something that it's, I had a player in the past where I was asked, why did you leave him out of the team for 3 weeks? And I tried not to say it, but I was like, yeah, he's grown he'd grown, I think it was 12 millimeters over the course of like 2 weeks. And his body weight had gone up 1 kilo. And you could see he was tired, and his reactions, and we did neuromuscular fatigue testing, and you could see he was tired. And I left him at the team for 2 weeks and put him on the bike because he was growing. So this was like another 19-year-old. So again, with guys that are 17, 18, 19, you've got to check the physical aspect of it also. So there might be a point where I have to bring him out of the team because he's still growing. Which I like, you see just now with like, remember Pedri was playing every game for Barcelona. Played every game for like 2 years. Sometimes it's like, can you deload them a little bit while they're growing through a growth phase? Or I think Pau Cubarsí had the same thing. Yamal will have the same thing at some point. So it's not an entirely new thing, but it's something that internally in a club you have to look out and think about that maybe nobody else would consider. You don't have to worry about it when they're 23 because it is what it is. If a guy puts weight on, it's, well, you eat Mars bars. Come on, get. Sometimes when they're 17, they're just growing.
We should move maybe to Lino as well, Wernberg Hyppenen, with everyone back now, because he's another obviously young player who's made big strides, who became even more out of nowhere as a fan, maybe watching, because we hadn't really seen him in and around the first team before at all. How do you manage his development, and how does he, like, how do you, as in terms of starting him and so on, especially with players coming back like Demba as well? How is that balance and developing him?
Yeah, like it's like similar to Lucas and Alvin. Like, once he is ready to be the clear number one option, and he's the best player for that position, irrespective of all the other things that goes on, then he'll be starting a lot. The good thing is, like, when you're a coach, you want to know how good are the young guys coming through. Can they come off the bench and help you? Can they play 3 or 4 games to cover for somebody and it doesn't tank the team? Can you rely on them in a training session to set the culture and the tempo because of how they train, and it adds to the group, so it's never negative. So Lino's done really well. I think he played 2 of the under-21 games, and he's been training up with the first team for a while, but when he played 2 of the under-21 games, I think we beat Landskrona and we beat Halmstad, and Gianluca took the team. The first 4 or 5 minutes, he didn't know should he press out of line. And we're like, no, you go man to man. Like, if the striker drops off, you go. You don't just leave him. Okay, and then he adapts so quickly. Even like his positioning inside the box, it's like you're talking to him about take the position from the front post, but with a attacker in front of you rather than attacker behind you. And you're making these small adaptations to help him so he doesn't like lose his man in the box, so he can see the ball and the man. And he get like, even when you show him like his body orientation, should you be shoulders open, shoulders closed, half turn, quarter turn, how do you use your body to control people in the box? And it's like he takes in information really quickly, and he's a worker, so he's always going to turn into a good player because of the capacity for learning. We need to be mindful, like, if he makes one or two mistakes in a game and it costs us a goal, then you're going to get people going, he's too young, all that stuff. But for me, the age doesn't really matter. But what I always say, like with the young ones, we need to protect them and don't put too much pressure or hope or expectation on them, because if the future of the club is dependent on the performance of 17 and 18-year-olds, we've done something wrong. Like, they guys are there to help, not to be the ones that we throw everything on. So he's done well in all the games. Against Norby, I should have started him. Femi got injured 30 seconds before the end of training, and I threw him in with the set pieces because I had full intention of starting him, and I was talked out of it. I was talked out of starting him because it seemed more sensible just to not throw him in, but my instinct was to play him. That's why I brought him on at half time. I was like, I should have just done it. And then he came on, he played really well, and then obviously Odevaldi came in and did well and scored, and he played well when he come on for Jakob against Varnamo, against Antonson's still a good player, and Kai Menelotto's a good player, so he's come in and done well. Sundsvall, I think the first 20 minutes was difficult because Kebby's physically, he did really well. He managed to move him around, but after that, he got in control of the game and helped set up the third goal. So, yeah, you're always really pleased when the academy kids come up and help.
Like, on that, like, I don't know your background or anything, but is this your first time where you have this kind of luxury problem where you have this constant tap of academy products coming forward, or is this yeah?
No, like in senior hockey, I had the B team for the first year. And in the first year, like, the first team head coach kept pulling players up to sit on the bench for the first team. So I'd bring up, like, because I was coaching the second team and the third team. So I would be bringing up kids from the third team and putting them in the second team because you're going up to the first team. I need to bring up the next one. And then when I moved up to the first team, it's the same thing. Like, I know all the academy players because they're my players. I bring them up. We have existing first team players. We have new players coming in. And, like, I remember my first year, I had like Kasper Panin in and out of the team, who's now easily the best player in Finland, but he was on the bench for large parts of the season because Puru Hanala was in front of him, and he's borderline national team player. So, no, I think that the biggest thing is that you need to maintain minutes for these guys until it's time for them to take over when the opportunity comes. And sometimes it's like you're just waiting for the guy in front of you to be sold so that you can step forward into their place. And that's just part of succession planning. Sometimes you have too many at one time, which is a problem. Like, I remember last year, we were having a discussion last year about how many players can you develop at once. And we had in the club 17 players in the high potential prospect list. I don't have 17 spaces. I've got 4. So then I can bring up 4 at any one time, but then you're having to flip them around in training. But of the 17, maybe 7 could play. So we would use 3 or 4 to start and 2 or 3 off the bench, but then you still got 2 or 3 not even getting on the pitch. So then that affects their development. So it's a nice luxury to have because you want to play them. We don't have, 8 coming through all at one time. Like, we've got Lino. I would make the argument Alvin's already a first team player, so we don't have to worry about it. Like, Langren's coming through and he's really good. Jonte's coming through and he's really good. Samali's been doing well with the first team training. Omar coming up from the 19s is a baller. So we have other ones coming through that will get a chance to show what they can do January, February. But I already know in the club which ones are closer or further away. So it's a good problem to have. But in the end, what do the fans want? They want us to win games. And if you want to win the games with a team full of 18-year-olds, you have to pick which one.
Yeah.
It's easy to put 1 or 2 in the team, but we can't have like 5 because it's impossible to achieve what we need to do at the same time.
I remember last time we talked, you sort of delved into how comprehensive your knowledge was of the academy even before you arrived. But now that you're obviously coaching the first team, how does that process look when there's an academy product coming forward? Is there someone, prodding you up and saying, well, this guy is ready, or how does that process look?
I speak to Martin and Hasse quite often. I go to watch the 19s games. The last 19s game I went to watch, Lucas got sent off. So you're going to miss a couple of games. But then they're 1-0 down against Sirius, and You know, when they were 1-0 down with 10 men, you want to see, okay, do you have the mentality and the quality to do this? And they changed second half to be more aggressive on the press, and you could see, okay, like these guys can help us. So the process just now is we always have 2 or 3 up training with us. We've had some of the 17s up training, like Zach Sponbeck's been up a few times. So we're always trying to bring them 2 or 3 up to train. Just now we've, of course, everybody knows we've got too many players in the first team, but when we've got space, we bring up a lot of them, especially in like recovery days or days we do 11v11 where we bring up extra ones. So just now we go through Hasse and Martin. We have semi-regular meetings to just go through people's development process and who's going to train up. And even like Mikael, obviously Mikael was the academy director before, so he'll organise in advance, like, can we have a look at these ones? So we've had Hannes up, Dion, Zach, Samily, Omar. I had Melvin up for a while. Charlie trained a few times. Probably more. Like, we've had, obviously Victor trains with the first team every day. Matteo, we had Ireland in goal the other day. So we try and bring up as quite a lot of them just to expose them to what we're trying to do.
So how do you see the next phase of progression for the first team now that half of the season has sort of passed? Are you happy with the general direction? Because on this pod, we've kind of been saying, watching the last few games, that there's a clear progression in how we play, especially going forward. And like you were saying before as well, against Landskrona and also against Sandvik, and we probably should have won both of those games, or could have at least. So are you happy with this general direction now? Because it seems like we're starting to really stamp our authority on games, or is there like a drastic change incoming as well? Or
no, I think like the players understand what I'm asking them to do a lot more, because it does take time to change people's behaviours. Like, it's not just a case of putting on a training session and now they can do it. It's some of them have got so many learned behaviours and habits for multiple years that to try and change that, it does take some time. But the development's like this now, and you can see Simon Bengtson's probably the one I speak about the most just now, because his game has completely changed. Like, he's making passes, jumping into number 6, making 3 or 4 passes, going to number 10, playing a pass and then going in the underlap to make a cross. And you would never have seen that in February. So you're seeing these guys that are more game aware, more able to read the space, read the movements of their teammates, read the intentions, the fluidity and the automations in their movements are getting there. So I don't think we'll see any radical changes. It depends on who plays, but I have toyed with the idea that sometimes playing a back 3 and have 2 of the centre backs go box to box, because then you end up with guys between the lines that are completely unmarked that nobody expects to see, because they pop up from a lower line rather than drop from a higher line. So you end up with different movement patterns. So there might be a couple of times where you see us playing a back 3 with a centre back that just goes wandering around. So like, it's easier to do that with like Demba or Goodman, because they're capable of doing that and able to do that. To be fair, Jakob was basically playing right wing in training yesterday. You've made a couple of passes down the side and putting crosses in the box, and he's like, I'll do that run once. I'm not doing it 4 times, I'll do it once. Femi does it occasionally also, but it's not like I'm saying to him, get the ball and go and stand on the left wing. It's just, you make some passes, the space develops, the opponents move, the space is here, I take a pass, I make another pass, I get to here, and they're starting to understand that, like, if somebody goes forward, somebody just drops and covers. If somebody goes inside, somebody goes outside. If somebody goes high, somebody goes low, and they're starting to get it. So, yeah, I think even from a perspective of like squad building, the first part of when you take over a new team is like, you have to figure out what can or can't everybody do, and who fits or who doesn't fit into how you want to play, and do you have to change for them, or do they adapt to what it is that you want? And I think I've given the majority of players at least a start or extended minutes off the bench multiple times to see what they can and can't do. So, or what does or doesn't work in certain moments. So, yeah, it's the first 14 games. It's been a lot of just information gathering. So now it's like, okay, in this moment I will do this, in that moment I will do that. The substitution patterns will probably be a bit more like clear depending on game state and type of game and these sorts of things. So yeah, I always say like after a while you just see like a reduction in the amount of players who play over time. You might end up with the same 17 guys that, you know, you have probably 7 starters and the same 5 guys off the bench, or in this moment I'll use this one, or in that moment I'll use that one. But yeah, I don't think you'll see anything radical in the second half of the season. I think that you might see a back three a few times because we want to solve different problems. But yeah, I feel like we've made good strides in the last 6 weeks, and the players are adapting well now to what we want. I did see a few times about fitness training and stuff like that online, and it's like, okay, when you were a high volume, low intensity team before, you can't then suddenly go to being high volume, high intensity, because what happens is you end up with like bad injury problems. And if you look at the injuries we've had, it's mostly been contact from games, or like Leo falling over and dislocating his elbow, or Timo getting somebody landed and breaking his ankle, or Denver slightly kicking the ground against Nordic and tearing his thigh off the bone. Like,
yeah. And we've had a few questions about that actually, but you kind of answered it there in a way, I guess. We might touch on it again later on, but just the fitness thing and the training methods. A lot of people seem to might as well take it out. For some reason, I don't know, a lot of people seem to be picking up on the fact that the players have a lot of time off, seemingly, or not a lot of time off, but it's like a different sort of way of training. The way you said, the low volume, high intensity, in changing that. How do you respond to that? You kind of did already, but is there like how long is the time schedule for a change in training to become more high intensity, high volume? Perhaps?
yeah, so like we had a deload week in March.
Mm.
So I think people are talking about, why are you giving them a week off? It's normal, because what happens is if you like progressively increase the load, you can only progressively increase the load to a certain point where you become overloaded and have accumulated fatigue. Accumulated fatigue leads to either soft tissue injuries, so you get calves, hamstrings, these sorts of things. They're on a heavy gym program for the whole pre-season, which we never, well, maybe we did before, but some of the players are saying this is a bit heavier than before. So then when you're doing everything is game-based in training, so they're running, everything's like high intensity. So there's no like low intensity games. It's like a bigger area or a smaller area, but it's full intensity. Even from the perspective of like the pitch in the stadium, the area per player on the stadium pitch is 324.5 meters per player. So if you use that as a baseline for how you organise, say, conditioning games, you cannot do 1v1 on a 324 metre square area because you would kill everybody, but you can do 160. If we do 11v11, we can do 324, but what you'll get is like less intensity to the game. So you want to reduce the area. So we'll train normally 11v11 on like a 280 area per player thing. Yesterday we did murder ball. We did 3 rounds of it, and it was like 4 minutes on for the first game, 4 minutes on the second game, and then 4 minutes jogging round the pitch. 3 sets of that. But that's on a 280 area per player pitch. So nobody's heart rate is under 160 for basically the first 12 minutes. Nobody's heart rate is under 170 for the second 12 minutes. By the time the third one comes, everybody's dead. So you do 3 rounds of this. So basically you're getting 36 minutes at high intensity running, which is, in Super 8 in the ball and play time averages like 48 minutes. So we're basically asking players to sprint and sprint and sprint and sprint and do like over 70% of the top speed constantly. So do players sometimes look tired? Yes, because you have to run and press all the time. And you're not allowed to not press because the whole system is built around, can you get pressure on the ball? And then when we have it, we're not really a static team, are we? There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of fluidity. There's a lot of forward runs, which is just to push the defensive line back to create space. So do they sometimes look tired? Yeah, because the high intensity work needs to be done. So even just now, we treat it like a mini pre-season. So do they have a lot of days off? They get the day off after the game, and they get the day off 3 days before a match. Because 4 days before a match, we do conditioning. Then they have a recovery day, which is normal. And then the day off after the game, which is normal. People need a mental break, whether you win or lose. We don't have a break after a game if we've got like 3 days between games, for example. Also, I have been in situations where I've seen the coach give no players no days off for like 3 weeks, and the players hate it. Like, because in the end, we're still normal people. So, do we have a lot of days off? Not really. Not really.
What do you think is the biggest point of improvement in the team now? So I've got it going into the second half of the season.
You can see way fewer goals.
Oh,
I think we need to improve how we build up. I feel like sometimes we not like give away possession too easily, but like sometimes we can be a bit braver to make a couple of extra passes, break a line, and come forward. Or sometimes sometimes we'll go long when we're not set to go long, and those are just things that's like, oh, I've taken a dodgy touch, the pressure's coming from here, I'm just going to put it there. Like, you're always going to get that. You watch the World Cup and some of the best players in the world to do that, but I'm kind of an extremist that I don't really want any of them. I want to play every time. So I think like we need to continue to improve our build up. I think we need to be in better position in defensive transition to limit, because we're going to lose the ball in the final third the way we play. Like, it's high risk, high reward. Like, if you hire me as the coach, that's what you're going to get. Sometimes you're going to lose the ball in a bad position because I'm asking them to play and solve problems and rotate and move. And it's easy to play football when you're standing still. It's hard to do it when you're moving. So we need to be a little bit closer together in possession to control the transitions. And then obviously defensively, we need to be a little bit better defending the box, particularly at the back post. Even like the position on the edge of the box, sometimes we get a little bit drawn to dealing with a runner rather than just controlling the zones where goals are scored from. So again, those are things that we've been working on to try and get better at. But yeah, I think fundamentally, like, if we can improve our build-up, that would improve how much time we spend in the opposition half, how much time we can control the game, and then fundamentally, like, we defend less from that. And then the second thing is, when we're defending a low block, just getting away with the ball a bit more.
How do you view, because I've been watching in season as well, and you talked about it in a press conference, and you mentioned it before as well about variance, because as you said, we've conceded too many goals, and a lot of them are like half chances sometimes, and maybe you mentioned the back post as well. How do we improve in making variance go away? You mentioned once taking more shots, but in terms of defending as well, and how confident are you in the mean sort of correcting itself, and how do the players feel when there's games where they feel like they should be winning, and it kind of feels like the variance is going against them?
Yeah, it was funny. Like, against Varnamo, we had the meeting before it, and I just said, look, if you keep doing these things well, we'll score more goals. The ball will start going in, but the problem is that we take too many touches. So is it right? If we reduce the amount of touches we take, get more shots off. If we get more shots off, the ball start going in the goal more. That's just kind of how it works. As long as they're on target, of course, and from good positions. The second thing was, like, I don't know if we get in front of enough shots. Or even sometimes, like, when you go to, let's say you cannot prevent the shot, and let's say you can't block the shot. Well, where do you stand? You try and get inside the posts, so that if one centre-back is inside one post and the other centre-back is inside the other post, maybe the goalkeeper's between them. So the goalkeeper has like less area to cover, and the ball should either be easier to save or it's just harder to score from. So again, just these small things. But like, I think if I was to go back in the last 6 years, I remember there was 1 year I was at St Johnstone. The year before, the goalkeeper was like plus 17. So the expected goals against was like 54. And I think we'd conceded 37, something like that. And you go, well, wow, the goalkeeper's an amazing season. Clearly he has. The second year, it was like he was like minus 16. So it's like over a 2 year span, he's on -1 or +1. So basically the same. But that's a 2-year span for the same goalkeeper with the same back five, both seasons. It's not to say he's got better or worse over 2 years. It's just these things happen. So am I confident that it will correct itself? Yeah, because I have a fundamentally good understanding of how the data fills out. But in the end, it's like 30 games is, you hope it will correct quickly rather than slowly. And again, like if you take, for example, Hearts in the Scottish Premier League last season, Hearts were like plus 12 for their expected goals. And I think they were -6 for the expected goals against. So then you go, well, you're top of the league at this point, but you've had the variance go your way. And you see in the last 5-6 games, the variance goes the wrong way and they end up losing the league in the last game of the season. But it's not to say it's entirely predictable, but the numbers are there to give you some insight. So again, I can't control everything, but at the same time, I can give the players some understanding of, look, part of this is, it's not luck, but it's just things go for you or against you. I remember like 3 years ago when I had the academy team in senior hockey, I said to the players, I was like, right, we've had 66 corners, 0 goals. Does that mean we're bad at corners? And the players like, yeah, we must be terrible. And I was like, right, okay, if I was a betting man, I would say that the average team would score every 33 corners. So therefore, maybe in the next 3 or 4 games, we might get a goal or two. The players are like, oh, okay, fine. Next 3 games, we scored 3 goals in 3 games. So we end up like 72 corners, 3 goals. And I'm like, right, so you're 24 corners per goal. That means you're good at corners now. And the players are like, yeah, we are. But 3 games ago, we were rubbish at them. So again, it's just understanding, like, what do the numbers mean? And do they give you any insight in, okay, can we be calm on this? And et cetera, et cetera. I know defensively, like, we've conceded way too many from corners, and part of it is we don't have the biggest team in the world. We've got 2 guys over 1.85 m, like just Jakob and Femi, or Jakob and Dembar, Femi. When they've been playing, they're the only big guys we've got. Even like Kev's one of the bigger ones, and he's 1.81 m. Lucas Yelnas is 1.90 m, but heading's no like his first skill. So sometimes it's like, if I take my team from last year, we could run a lineup last year where 7 guys over 1.90 m. 3 guys 1.95 m, 3 guys 1.93 m, and 1 1.91 m. So you go up for a corner, and another team are going, I wonder what's happening here. So if you put me in the box, you're not worried. You know what I mean? Put 6 of me in the box, you're like, it's all right, lads. The keeper will catch you. Again, part of it is just like the physical makeup of the team. And again, like, part of trying to be better at set pieces is to concede less set pieces. To concede less pieces might be having way more possession or have a better build-up or more structure in the final third. So for me, all these things are linked. It's not like fundamentally you need to be better at corners. Of course we do, but like maybe we only concede 2 corners a game rather than 5. And that would help. We changed to a zone and we looked much better, but then Sundsvall got one at the back post. Good corner, but again, it's of course I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I just want us to improve everything.
Into the transfer window and sort of the business that's been done already, Julian Larsson. Where do you kind of touched on it before? He seems very versatile, but where do you see him in this team if you were to
like a 9-10?
9-10. Okay.
Yeah. He can play off the left, he can play box to box in midfield, he can play off the right. He's better like coming through the centre. So but when he was younger, he was a striker quite often at Nottingham Forest, played as a 10 a lot and off the left a lot. So for me, I don't always sign specialists. I like guys that are more fluid and able to play different areas. Like if you watch Max can play loads of different spaces. Timo the same. Julian's like that. Alvin's like that. Like Gaggy can play wherever he wants because he just runs about and he's good on the ball and his energy is amazing. So you always want to just try and have players in the team that can do multiple functions. Maybe your striker is a specialist and one of your centre backs is a specialist. So like a big guy just defends, passes at 10 yards and that's fine. But for me, Julian's like there'll be some games where he plays a 9 or a false 9, or maybe we play with 2 or 3 false 9s and everybody just wanders around and it becomes difficult to play against. I think most of the time he'll play centrally as a 10. And you can see in training just now, like quality around the boxes there. Like, he never misses a target. Great first touch, good orientation of his body to make sure he hits the target on his shots. Like, good quality on the final pass, really good decision making, good timing of the runs. Even like when he's got pressure from behind, he's good at dropping the shoulder and changing direction to lose his man. And then the good thing about it is once he's lost his man, he's got good quality on the final pass. So his crossing is good. I think there's a session during the week where I think he set up Nyarko for like 3 headers in a 50-minute game. So it's, yeah, he's a good player.
What are your major targets going forward now in the transfer window? What are you looking to bring in, and what part of the pitch?
Yeah, I think like we've got a heavy squad. So there are going to be some guys that are going to go out on loan. Like I said a couple of weeks ago, like we had an offer for a player. Clancy decided he didn't want to leave, he wanted to stay, he wants to help us get promoted. But there's been a little bit of interest in some of the players, so we'll see what happens with that. But I think for us it's more we need to make space if somebody was to come in, because we have a lot of bodies in the dressing room. So if we bring somebody in, it'll probably be cover for fullback, because I think we could do with cover for Clancy and cover for Simon. I think Leo can play there, but Leo for me is a central midfielder, right midfielder. He's better like further forward. So he did really well in training, to be fair, today. He did well, so did Casper Young. So yeah, I think we'd probably look at somebody who could cover both fullback positions. Because I think like we can't ask Simon to play the intensities I'm asking him to play with for 30 games and not have cover for him. We played William a little bit, but yeah, we're looking at like fullback cover. But somebody can play both sides. It can't just be a right back or just a left back. It has to be somebody who can do both. Yeah, I don't know if we'll do anything more in the attacking positions. I don't know if we'll be able to, but yeah, I think like attacking wise, we've got quite a lot. We've got especially now because we play with 3 number 10s rather than wingers. We've got like 6 options. We've got Kev, Ali, and Lucas that can play down the middle. So I don't know if we would do anything there. We've got obviously Dowda, Lucas, Lauret, Sammy can all play like in the double sixes that we play. And then we've got Demba coming back, Goodman coming back. We've got obviously Jakob and Femi. So I don't think we need to do anything at centre back. It's probably just fullback cover where we're light on bodies. And we have been since pre-season, to be honest. It's just looking at the board now. Yeah, just fullback cover.
So, like, what's the process when a player is brought up for a possible transfer? Who like, obviously you mentioned the scout before, but how's the process behind that?
So we've got different ways of doing it. We've got data where we'll analyse the data from loads of different leagues. Who fits, who does what we want, who doesn't do what we want, like what are the parameters that we're looking for to filter down the players, availability, salary, expectations, all those things. So that'll be like how we identify players. The second bit is like how agents send players in. So we use a system called Airtable, where agents will send in the players, they get filtered through the Airtable, they'll do initial screening, so we'll watch them we might check the data and go, he's rubbish, no chance. Or we might get the data and go, actually, this guy's really good, let's watch him. And then we watch him for 15 minutes and go, actually, he doesn't really fit what we want, or he does these things, but we've got better players, blah, blah, blah. The next bit is players who are in B teams. So I spend a lot of time watching B teams, partly because some clubs have already done the scouting for you. They've identified a player from wherever, they're in the B team. Why can't you get in the first team? Because the guy in front of you is worth €4 million and he plays every week. Okay, it's not a disaster that you can't get in the team because that guy's really good. Okay, there's millions of players in B teams who are really good. And you can go around the world and you can go to Benfica B, Sporting Lisbon B, Porto B, Zalina B, Trenton B, Lask Linz B, do you know what I mean? Rangers B, Celtic B. It's like West Brom's under 23s is basically a B team. So like there's so many like situations where you can be smart about where you look, which is where I tend to spend my time is who's got good underlying data but has a limited pathway with the player in front of them, and then go from that direction, which is basically how we found Demba. And even like Demba's replacement I've already found in a B team. Again, it's have I already spoke to the agent? Yes. Is it something you can do in the future? Yeah, because I tend to work 2 windows in advance. So for us to look at a player in January, I'll probably have already looked at him now and spoke to the agent, and we're in dialogue and all these things. And if somebody was to get injured or sold or leave or all these things, then you should already have identified the player in advance. So part of that is like Julian joining now, is we've done all the work in January. There'll be players that join in January that we've done the work for this June. So we try and be more forward thinking on these things, or even just knowing what's going to be available in the market, whose contract's up, who needs to move. Like there's a player that I would sign tomorrow who's available, but we don't have space for him. So a national team player, but it's constant. Like Paul will sit and scout hundreds of players in a week and filter them all, and then like me, Mikael and Paul will have scouting meetings about succession planning, who can help in which position, what players have we got that are doing well, that maybe like for example like Gaggy, maybe somebody wants to buy him. So what do we have in the pipeline? Do we have a player inside the club, which is always the first question, is the option to replace a player in the building. That's the first place I look. Are they in team currently? Are they on the bench? Or are they in under 19s? And it's always the first place we look. So if somebody was to leave, it's like, do we have an under 19s player that can step up, who can do the job exactly as we want? If they can't, then okay, then we look outside. But yeah, there's loads of different avenues. Again, like even just from the perspective of understanding what markets that you want to recruit from. Like we had one scout who was recommending a lot of players, but when you talk to the player and the agent, they're asking for double what we can pay. So it's like understanding what we can do financially and where you can get players from. So I'm not going to say what we pay, but there's certain leagues and situations where players are available to you. Like I'm not going to call and ask for a player from Real Madrid, because he's got to be really good, but he's also going to be really expensive. Yeah. So we need to be smart about what markets that we try and access, and we don't pay transfer fees for anyone. So from that perspective, it's like, how do you negotiate taking a player out of a club, and what's the situation that works for everybody? It's not quite as straightforward as people think, to be honest.
No. How much do you let personality be a part of the transfer process? Do you have interviews with the player? Yeah.
I don't recruit on talent, ever. Never. Okay. I always recruit on the character. So I'll interview the player, we'll do the data, we'll do all the video work, we'll go, this guy is an incredible player, and I'll do a Zoom with him and think, you're a dickhead. You're not coming. Like, because it won't work. As you would rather have a space in the squad than a bad egg. So it's more important that you find the right people who will fit in with the dressing room. It's like Kevin Yarko, good player, the best social animal in the team, helps the dressing room the most. Seems to like Cristiano Ronaldo though, so maybe we have to let him go. But said Cristiano Ronaldo's better than Messi, and I'm thinking, nope, you need to go.
Fair.
I should just ask players that. Do you think Ronaldo's better than Messi? If he says yeah, end call. See you later. End call. Clearly a problem. Out. Gianluca says that as well, but he's
really?
Yeah. Needs his eyes checked. But yeah, the biggest thing is always to recruit on talent. I made recruit on character. I made this mistake a few times when I worked in England. I was a sporting director in England, and we recruited players who were really good players, but they were better players than what we had, but questionable like mentality, questionable reasons for why they wanted to join. And in the end, it's like, well, those are unsuccessful transfers because your gut told you that as people, they wouldn't fit in the squad or the dressing room or the culture you want to try and create. And the most important thing is the culture and the environment, and that's set by how people think and act and behave every day. And It's really easy to destroy that with one or two guys. And like if the culture is strong enough, players will come in and find their way back out quite easily. And I think that's one of the things that we did quite well in Finland was the culture of the dressing room and the staff was so strong that players would come in and leave because they couldn't adapt to how we train, how we work, how we do the gym, nutrition, all these things. And sometimes you get players that are just, I'm so talented that that's enough, and it's never enough. It's what do you do when you're under a bit of pressure? Do you stand up and fight, or do you shrink and let your team lose? And do you take responsibility if you make mistakes? Or how do you react to going 1-0 down? Or how do you react to going 1-0 down, but it was your mistake? And some players crumble, and they're the ones that never survive. So the character is the most important thing.
And in terms as well of players leaving the club, because you mentioned Clancy before, obviously, who had interest from elsewhere, and also there's been rumors about Gigovic too. How do you view the balance between selling well and obviously trying to get money in so we can improve going forward as well, but also not losing too much quality with us wanting to obviously push for promotion?
Yeah, that's always the difficult part. Is like if you lose some of your best players, how do you get stronger? It's like when we lost Ben. Ben goes to Randers. Like for me, Ben would have been the best right back in the league. We lose a big player. Clancy's done well, but I said when we signed him, we're trying to sign somebody who could be as good as Ben, because if we sign somebody who's 29 who's already not as good as Ben, he's never going to get there anyway. So we signed somebody with the physical capacity that Ben had, which Clancy is a monster physically. The game awareness needs to improve. Technically on the ball, he's very good, but if we were to sell Clancy, we've already done enough work in the background to go, right, okay, what type of right back and who would we sign and all those things. So again, it's like when Gaggy's been playing well for the first half of the season, it's do we need to replace him if we sold him? Like, because sometimes you don't need to replace them. You've already got the player in the building. If you don't have the player in the building, then maybe you have to look outside. So yeah, there's always we always have like a what if scenario. Like what if somebody bought Johan? Do you know what I mean? Okay, Emil's here. Great, right? Okay, now we need a new backup keeper. What if somebody wanted to buy Max? Okay, Timo's here. We've got Aki, mate. Blah blah blah. Right? Do we need to look outside or do we need to look inside? What if we sold Simon? Right? Okay, we'll probably have to look outside. So again, we always have these like, and again, this is like part of the process I spoke about at the start. Is are we able to have like a list of players identified that would fulfill the objectives that we want to achieve if we sold a player? And do we need to replace the player that we sell? Because sometimes the answer's already in the squad.
Well, you mentioned Johan as well, Butby, and we had a question as well from a listener who was sort of wondering about the goalkeeper union at the moment, with Rådal obviously being one of them and Wangboy as well. How is the goalkeeper union at the moment? Because this listener is sort of implying that he's wondering if a seeming lack of internal competition for Butby is affecting. He was unhappy basically with Johan's performances in some games, and he was wondering about the goalkeeper union and if there's like how the internal competition is looking in that.
For me, like Johan's like one of the best keepers in the league, if not the best. Again, like I spoke about the goalkeeper before that we had at St Johnstone. It's like some years the keeper will save everything, and the next year everything flies in, and it's just, I hate saying it, but part of it is variance. It's just 1 year stuff goes in, and the next year doesn't, and it's you can never just say, oh, there's a so-called lack of competition. Like Emil broke his hand out practicing with Alvin, and he's missed like 3 months. Now, if he trains every day with Johan, is that better for Johan? Probably. Like I always speak about competition's a good thing. So even from Johan's perspective, it's like that guy is on the training pitch every single day, does every practice, trains full intensity all the time. He's one of the leaders in the team. And if somebody wants to do extras after training, he's out there doing extras. Is there an element that is there a small element that, because he's had to do so much and we've only got 2 keepers at training, that there might be fatigue in there? Maybe. I think there's a discussion to be had about that. for sure. I think if you've got 4 goalkeepers in training, then the goalkeepers would be fresher. So I think there's always an element of that. I think we've had 3 recently, which I do think has made a difference. So again, just small things about how we do the process behind the scenes is probably something that helps at the weekend. I think if people are saying, "Oh, it's Johan's fault we've conceded 1 million goals," or whatever it is, it's probably an exaggeration.
But so this is kind of maybe tied into the variance thing that you were talking about as well. How do you, because as a player, it must be difficult if you're going through a period of maybe variance going against you. How do you convince them that their ability is still there and that it's just a matter of maybe the meme correcting itself? And
yeah, like they make the saves in training. Like I always talk about, like, if your conversion rate in training is really low, it's going to be low in games. If you don't score a 2v1 counter attack in training, I don't expect you to score it in a game. So you have to be putting the ball in the net like really consistently with every situation that you find yourself in. And it's the same for goalkeepers. Like, if you're not saving any shots in training, you're probably not going to save any in games either. But some of the saves Johan and Emil make in training are ridiculous. Like some of the, especially like reflex ones. So yeah, you can see it in training that, like, they can save the shots. It's not that they can't save the shots. It's just like, I think sometimes if they go through a few bodies and it bounces in the far corner, it's just like, sometimes it could be positioning, sometimes it could be foot speed, sometimes it could be fatigue, sometimes it could be, did you read the bounce? You never know. Like, you get some goalkeepers who, and we've had it this season, where you look at the goalkeeper and think, he's not that good, and then he's saved absolutely everything against you. And it's, okay, he's had a good game today. Is it just because it's us? So, yeah, for me, Johan's one of the best keepers in the league, if not the best. So we have to, you know, I always defend the players. I always stick with them.
So there's been a bit of a rumor mill around Gigovic last few days. Can you give any sort of insight to where the ball is at surrounding him? Or
With Gigovic?
Yeah.
I haven't heard any rumours. You're the third person that said this to me.
I mean,
I have heard
I just read the new flashes. I was hoping to get
Where are you
something
reading
from
this? Because I've not seen it.
I mean, okay. Okay.
I don't know. I haven't
fine.
seen it. But listen, like,
Okay.
he's played so well
Mm.
that if there was interest in him, I wouldn't be shocked.
Mm.
That's just the nature of the game. And if somebody was to come and pay big money for him and he got a good move, I'd be the happiest guy for him, because he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Comes in, trains amazing, so professional, does the gym properly, one of the best guys in the dressing room, like socially, just such a good guy. So if somebody was to come and buy him and he got himself a really good move off the back of that, fair play. Like, it's, you want to see people do well in life, and his brother played at the World Cup, so it's maybe like a point for Gaggy that, okay, if my brother can do it, maybe I can also do it. So again, it's, you know, I haven't seen the rumours. If somebody makes us an offer, then of course we have to discuss it. But until then, it's, for me, it's just we need to prepare in case it happens, like we already do. But I haven't seen it. But you are the third person today that said this.
I mean, I don't know, like, I don't remember exactly the news outlet, but I saw the news flash and I just thought I'd ask. But yeah.
I don't have any news. Like, a journalist asked me today, you know, can you update us on the offer for Gigovic? And I was like, what offer? No idea. And also, if there's an offer, Reda will call me about a minute after it happens. What do you think? So, if anything was to happen, then, you know, I would know immediately. But I genuinely have no idea. Where are the rumours from?
I think some of the rumors were probably about, obviously we know now it's Clancy who had the interest from outside. I remember seeing an article where they tried to connect the dots and say that it was Gigovic somehow, but that seemed more like speculation. That was one I saw maybe last week.
That was somebody just trying to go, who's played well and who scored a couple of goals, and it must be him.
Yeah.
But no, it was Clancy.
I think you mentioned earlier, but like, where are you at organization wise? What are you looking to bring in terms of, head of performance, things like that? How far off from where you want to be are you?
Um, okay, if I just go through it logically, right, I would like
Mm,
us to maximize the physical performance.
yeah.
So to do that, you would need a head of performance who would specialize in periodization structure and um, translating and evaluating the data.
Mm,
Normally, what would happen after training is we would go through the data, depending on how quickly it gets into the GPS units, and then you would have somebody who would do like a script like Python, R, Power BI, something like that, where you would individualize the data and then contextualize it. And then you have a meeting, it would say like locomotive volume, locomotive intensity, all these sorts of things. So mechanical intensity, blah, blah, blah. So you would have all the readings for the individual level, team level, and it would come up like red, yellow, green. So then you would sit through and go, okay, this guy did too much today here, no enough there. How did we evaluate the training session? In terms of the physical load, what do we want to achieve tactically? Did we get there technically? All these things. So a head of performance would be the first thing I would like to add in January. Like we've already spoke about it, so I think
mm,
we'll get there. We just need to try and make space in the budget. That would then lead into hiring a sports science intern, and they would do the manual work. So you would have all the planning and work done in place, and then how we read and interpret the data during training live to know should we go 95 seconds instead of 90, or should we go 2.5 minutes or 4 minutes,
mm,
or should the area size be bigger today, or should it be 280 area per player rather than 240? Like, can we push it a little bit more because of where the load is? And then we would try and do like neuromuscular fatigue testing. So in the morning, players do like a wellness report, and it'll say muscle soreness, 10 out of 10, fatigue, 0 out of 10, mood, stress, 10 out of 10. I feel magnificent. And you watch them train and you're like, liar. You sleep last night, did you? Because they put 10s because they want you to pick them.
mm,
But really, you want them to just be honest. So we had, like last year, I'll give you an example, like in the morning, the process was players would come in, do their body weight, write their body weight on the chart, go in and get changed, neuromuscular fatigue testing. So they do like counter movement jump, 3 or 4 different types of jumps, and that would measure like the response time between the jump and the landing, and it tests neuromuscular fatigue basically. So what we would know is your baseline to do these different jumps. So it might be like really fast, and we would know the difference between your normal, your average, and if you're feeling good. So then we could come in and say, oh, this player is feeling tired, maybe just take him out of the games at the end. Okay, great. Because then we can prevent an injury from happening, or we can prevent us from overloading somebody, 1 or 2 days before the game, so we can actually get the result that we want. So to add in things like neuromuscular fatigue testing to better understand how a player is going to perform in advance. So if somebody's coming in and their neuromuscular fatigue is like showing that they're clearly overloaded and fatigued, and you play them in a game and they have a bad game and get injured, you would like to have known that 2 days ago. That would be much better.
mm,
So if I know going into a game, this guy is really tired from whatever reason, and it could be external stuff, it could be as a wisdom tooth growing, it could be anything. Maybe you go, right, I'm not going to pick him today, I'm going to pick somebody else, and it helps the team win because you knew in advance, because you have better information. So to add like a head of performance, a sports science intern, add neuromuscular fatigue testing, do like individualized physical data tracking, better contextualization of the data that comes in after training. Because just now, like we just use the GPS system, it goes into Catapult or Stat Sports or whatever it is, and then it gives us a sheet, comes out, and we read it. But I would like everything to be more individualized so we can know, Anthony's red zone is this, and Fabian, your red zone is that. My red zone is something else, but it's like I think everything's like baseline standardized, whereas I would like everything to be individualized.
mm.
Because like one guy like Lucas Yelnas could run 12 kilometers and it's fine, but if I run 12 kilometers, I'm dead. So it needs to be done in a level where it's personalised to a point where we know absolutely everything about every player in advance to be able to predict what might happen rather than react to it. So that would be the first thing. We're going to add a bunch of intern scouts or volunteer scouts. Typically, like my last club, we had 6. At the end of them working for a year, all of them end up full-time jobs. Then we hire another 6, and at the end of the year, they all have full-time jobs in different clubs. Some of them are head of recruitment, some are sport directors, some are emerging talent scouts, like these sorts of things. So we try and find people who are already good at it, give them a opportunity to put a name in the CV, and then it can get them a job. So it helps us in the short term, but it helps them, develop a career in the game. So yeah, those will be, like, the head of performance is the first one. We are going to add some scouts to try and improve the scouting side, obviously a sports science intern to help with the man hours it takes to do everything, and then I would like to add an individual coach for within training. So like when I take training, I take it at team level, big picture level. Obviously, I work with the players and try and help them all during it, but what you would like is like one person's specific job is to go and fix technique or decision making or timing of the run, or if they're unsure about anything in the session. So your job is specifically to work individually with the players, but more specifically focused on like the high potential ones. So you might have somebody whose job is basically to man mark Lucas and talk him through and help him all the time to maximise what he does, or Alvin or Lino or Omar, for example, and we bring them up and their job's to help them. And when we film training on the drone, bring them in and go, right, okay, what do you think of these scenarios? Or bring these situations from other games and say, well, what player do you like? Oh, I like Tony Kroos. Okay, well, in this situation, look at his touch, his technique, his body shape, his timing of his pressure, whatever, and actually spend a lot of time teaching these guys. The problem we've got is we're able to do it, but we don't have enough man hours to do it. And for us to maximise everything that we do means that we have to restructure a little bit and add, maybe take from the player budget to add to the staff budget, because then we can maximise what the staff do to help the players. Because having 2 extra players that don't play all that much, you could have maybe 1 or 2 staff that make a big difference, and that might be the difference between, being a good team and a really good team.
Julius is wondering about how the logistics is with your family, obviously in Scotland. How is that working out, and how do you see yourself in the Helsingborg long term? How is everything? I guess.
Yeah, I get more questions about my wife and kids than like, you guys have wife and kids?
No, I'm too. I'm only 25, so not yet.
Oh yeah,
No,
it's
no.
it's the worst day is like when you have to go in the bus to the airport. Both the kids are like not happy about it. Like, especially my youngest one, he's 5, and he's always like, I would like Dad to come home now. He understands why I'm at work, but it's no ideal. And obviously, like, my wife is a superstar. She has to do everything on her own. So yeah, it's logistically it's not easy. I try and go home during international breaks. Like, we went to Tenerife for 5 days last week, and I have to go home for 2 days and cut the Amazon rainforest down from the front garden and the back garden before coming back to work, because it takes so long, and it's not possible that my wife can spend 4 hours doing the garden to cut it all. It's no easy. So even like just getting the kids into a routine, ordering the shopping, taking them to school, taking them to gymnastics, taking them to football, taking them to swimming, like all the classes that kids go to, birthday parties and playground politics and all that. It's like when I'm at home, I take the kids to school, and I think she'll do it sometimes, but or most of the time, but like I'm always there. Like I'm present for everyone when I'm at home, but it's no fun. It's no fun.
Are they into football, your kids? Just a side question. Are they interested in it, watching it and playing?
Yeah, they're interested in football. It's not like when I grew up where you would just play football all day at school and play football all day in the garden. They have like different interests. My older one's actually at a football party today with some of his school friends. So I'm sure my wife will tell me he's done all right. He's actually not bad. My youngest one might be a defensive midfielder.
Okay.
Just runs about smashing people. So he'll like happily wear his Helsingborg shirt everywhere. Like he's like, this is my daddy's team. Why are you wearing some random Swedish team? And they're like, that's my dad's team. Right, but he's called Rio, so like he's obviously got the lounge. So maybe my wife said to me a few times, like, we've got a wee boy called Rio and there's a Rio lounge. Maybe you're supposed to be there. So maybe it's a sign. So yeah, my kids are interested in football, but it's not their priority.
Yeah. Should we do the one from Myron as well? Who he's asking about your sound bites in media or in the media. Among them calling Alexander Johansson the best striker in the league, and he's wondering about why you use these grand words in the media. And how you
after a game I say, I think he's bang average.
No. He's one, yeah.
I mean, like, do you know? See, when you're the coach, right? You know the journalist is looking for something.
Yeah,
and it can be really easy to be like, he's had a good game. What do you think? But well, first good game in a month. If you say that, right, it's no good.
No.
Right. It's no. How do you say? If they want a quote, I'll give them a quote. I don't mind.
Do you like that game? Do you like that game with the media?
I'll play the game all day long. Like if they want a quote, like, I'll play the game, no problem. And the boys know, they're like, oh, he's at it again. Like Ali's a good striker, of course he is. When he scores that goal and has a good game, like, yeah, best striker in the league, right? Okay. Other people can argue if he is or he isn't. It's not for me to argue. I think he's a good striker, so I'm just gonna say everybody's the best. Do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna come in and go, oh yeah, I think Clancy's the third best right back in the league. Like who's going? Imagine Jurgen Klopp saying that. How good do you think Trent Alexander-Arnold is? Oh, I think he's the 8th best right back in the world. Who's the 7 better than him? Like, come on. Like, sometimes they ask you a question, you're like, come on, man, play the game. So I'll play the game all the time. Don't take absolutely everything I say to the media that seriously.
No. I think maybe some of the fans are not used to, because I think it's a lot of the managers we've had, or the coaches we've had, and as well, I think just Swedish coaches in general are quite, I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it's the mentality of the Swedish people. Maybe it's downplaying yourself, maybe, or not maybe. Really wanting.
I mean, I'd rather have it this way than
I agree.
Same boring old coaches that like, give it a soundbite.
To be honest, right? Sometimes they'll ask a question, and I'm just like, that was so boring, and then I'll answer the questions, and I'm like, like, fine, like, if you want to be vanilla today, no problem.
Yeah, I think sometimes we can kind of tell, but
I also, like, there's sometimes I'll get asked questions, and I'm like, you've had a week to think about this, and like I'll say to the guy, you've had a week to think about these questions. And he'll just look at me, and I'll be like, and I'll give him like a 3-word answer. But can you elaborate? And I'm like, not really giving me any space to elaborate here, pal. What do I think about the last game? Shite. Got beat. Why? Do you know what I mean? Like, ask me a question which allows me to speak or elaborate. If you don't want, like, I'm quite happy to give you a 1-word answer if you want, but I'm also happy to play the game. It's a necessary evil part of the job. Like, it's you can make it whatever you want it to be. So I'm quite a funny, chatty guy if you speak to me.
I have I don't know if you have any other questions, Anthony. I was just wondering, what's the single most important thing for Helsingborg to have a good autumn in the league, do you think?
Concede fewer goals. Because I think that we'll always score. We create enough chances. I think our expected goals per game is like 2.2 at this point. I think it's top league. So I don't think that our chance creation will go down, but we need to concede fewer goals. And I think we need to score the first goal more often. And if that means we take our first chance in the game, I'd be quite happy. Because as much as I have belief that if we're 1-0 down, we can come back and win 2-1. Or even if we're 2-0 down, I think we can get it back. I don't really like being in that position. I would rather be 2-0 up and, okay, we can manage the game a bit and play how we want to play. But yeah, I think we need to concede fewer goals for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the most
I think
boring
that's-
answer you're going to get out of me.
Okay, well, like, has that, in the dressing room, how much have you been, trying to address that when you go 1-0 down, and, change the mentality of the team that you can actually turn around games? How
Yeah,
how
I
have you
think-
tried to change the mentality?
I wasn't here last year to know what the mentality was, but from speaking to people within the club, they've said to me that they feel like there's a clear shift, that the players are like, we'll get this back. Whereas they felt a little bit like before, like, oh, we're 1-0 down, they're not sure. Whereas this group just now are going, we could have 4 in the first half today. And then they're disappointed because we're 2-1 down and we've conceded 2 shots. Whereas like the Sandviken game is like one of the like ultimate games where the players go, well, we should never have lost that. We're a wee bit unlucky, but at the same time, you've got to take your chances. And then you go, well, okay, we conceded 4 in the end, right? The third goal's a foul and the fourth goal's like 95 minutes when we're playing 2 diamond 3, trying to just get it to 3-3. And in the end, right, people go 4-2 is a bad result, and I'll go, yeah, but we were getting beat 3-2. What do you want to do? Accept 3-2 and not go for 3-3? Like, it's not really in my nature. I'm going to go for it. And if 3-2 turns into 4-2, I'll take the risk because 3-3 gets you a point in that situation. So again, I'll keep throwing bodies forward when the time comes, and sometimes you're going to lose a goal at the end of it and it finishes the game. But that's the risk you take. The risk to me is not doing it, and you just get beat anyway. So the players talk about they want to concede fewer goals, but they feel like we're not conceding that many chances. If we were conceding millions of chances, then you go, right, fundamentally there's loads of problems, but we're not conceding that many chances. It's, like I said before, it's like almost every half-decent shot seems to be going in. And you would like to think that that will change, but it's... Unless, it's not really something you can control either. All you can do is control what the general game looks like. And as a coach, it's a hard thing to not have the control of everything. You basically, right, your process as a coach is like box to box. What happens inside the boxes is like, what do the players do on the day? And of course you can practice defending the box and attacking the box, but in the end it's like, do you get the ball at your feet and put it in the corner, or do you get the ball at your feet and hit the keeper, or do you get a ball at your feet and your shot is blocked? Those are different things. Or when they get the ball at their feet, is he able to hit the corner on the day? So again, when you're a coach, that's one of the hardest things is to deal with, is like, you're really only influential between the boxes. That's why people pay millions for centre backs and strikers, because in the end it's like they read the situation and stop a goal, or read the situation and score. That's why like the money gets spent on those 2 positions more than anything else. So yeah, that's like, you always hope that these things will improve with practice. Like today we practiced defending the box. It's like, okay, we've got Lucas and Ali in the box against Femi and Jakob. Are we happy to concede a cross here? Yeah, why? Because we think we'll defend it. Okay. Because you've got 2 big giants against 2 little guys, right? So we feel like there's an advantage there. So it's, again, about understanding what it is that you can and can't do to try and give yourself the best chance.
No, I don't think so. Thank you so much for your time. As
No problem.
always. Yeah.
Cheers for the invite, and hope people leave with some
Mm.
clarity on what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people are quite positive though. I think at least I am, after just the performances of late. I kind of, yeah, really seen the shit.
A few times, like I've been out quite a few times in the last couple of weeks, and it's like everybody's generally positive. They're like, we can see what the idea is, and everybody likes that we're trying to be offensive minded and try and score 2 or 3 every game, which is positive, because I think that's what everybody wants, is to see an attack minded team that tries to win games rather than, be a bit passive and defensive. And of course everybody tries to win games, but it's not as exciting. And sometimes you're going to get the occasional game where you're like, oh my god, I hate that. But it's the type of coach I am. Like they knew that when they hired me, so I'm going to go for it all the time, rightly or wrongly. So yeah, it's been good. The conversations I have with people on the street, everybody's overwhelmingly positive, and the ones who are a little bit negative, it's like, I understand. They've got a giant hive tattoo on their leg. Like, the club is the life. Like, I get it that you're pissed off that we lost to Landskrona. I understand. I also am. Like, I'm not a fan. I'm not from here, but it's still my team. And I want to make sure that when we go into the game, it's like I said to the few players a few times, like, make sure when we leave the pitch is a performance we're happy with. Because in the end, we cannot control the result. But if we play enough good games, we should win more games. And that's what we try and focus on.
Well, yeah. Thank you very much. Unless you have anything to add, then we just have a good rest of the day. And
I'm gonna finish planning tomorrow's meeting, and then I will go for a shower and then go home.
Sounds nice.
Right.
Enjoy the rest of the World Cup. I'm excited now that Norway are out, so I can actually watch with a bit of relaxation, not knowing they're going to win it at least.
We'll be relaxed when England are out.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Så, det var helt enkelt intervju med Stevie Grieve. Ett längre samtal som sagt. Mycket info, svar, långa. Stevie är som Stevie är. Men jag hoppas att ni tyckte om det. Ni får precis som vanligt höra av er med kritik, feedback och allt möjligt mellan himmel och jord. Antingen till min mail, DM på Twitter eller till Fabian också givetvis. Vi kommer tillbaka till er efter matchen mot Falkenberg och får se lite hur schemat blir för oss. Men det är planen som sagt. I övrigt får ni ha en för jävla fin vecka, så hörs vi snart igen. Ha det gött!
Leaders of man, born out of your frustration. The leaders of man, just a stranger.